Welcome back, kids. I've got such a fun project for y'all today. We're going to make two of the wavy flags from cutting it close. Let me show you the kit over here. All right, what we have here is the wavy flag maker's kit from Cutting It Close. When you get your order, you'll also receive epoxy, hardener, mixing cups, stir sticks, rubber gloves, and white pigment for the stars. You'll also get your maker's file in whatever software that you use in your shop. So let's get this small one over there on the CNC. I'll make it first. All right, since this is going to be a 3D type carve, we're not going to be able to clamp on the top of the flag, so we got to hold it in place somehow. And what I'm going to do is use these two pieces of scrap 1/2 inch MDF, and I'm just going to screw them down around the outside of the flag. And that'll hold them in place and against my bench dogs. That way I won't have to worry about losing it, my XY. All right, that ought to work. Oh man, that's in there tight, so that is perfect. All right, let's get over to VCarve Pro and I'll show you how we're gonna set this up. All right, I'm in VCarve Pro. This is the file you'll get from Ryan. This is the Vectric version. If you use Carbide Create, he has other files available for you, SVG files and others, which I have on the screen. So anyway, I'll be using Vectric today. And first we'll just go over real quick the bits that I'll be using today, which are the ones that he recommends here. I'll be using the 1/4 inch upcut rougher, the Golden Boy. All of these are Cutting It Close brand bits, and all of these will be linked in the first comment below and also in the description. You'll have a link with my 10% discount affiliate link. So we're using the upcut rougher, and then we're going to use the 30-degree V bit and a 1/16 inch radius tapered ball nose. And he's got it all laid out here just like he always does. Step 1 for your first tool pass, and then step 2 for the V bit, and step 3 for the 3D finish carve. So he's excellent at doing this stuff. So let's just open up this first tool path here. And I have my 1/4 inch upcut rougher, the Golden Boy. We are doing machining the limit boundary selected vectors, which means what we're cutting here is just the union around the stars. We have a 0.16 machining allowance. We're cutting in the 3D raster, 0 angle. And let me show you my settings for my bit that I'm running today. I did speed mine up. This is faster than what your file will have by default whenever you get it. But these were just the numbers I used, and I believe this is what Ryan said he used. But I believe he run this one at 180 inches per minute, 75-inch plunge, and I just did 20,000 RPM just to be safe, doing a 60% step over, 0.3 pass depth. So that's all of that. But you run it ever how you feel comfortable with your particular machine and whatever bits you're using. Calculate. And it's just saying the allowance left on is greater than 20% of the tool diameter. Leaving large allowances slows down the toolpath calculation time, which it means here in VCarve Pro, and may lead to finishing tool breakages. So what that means is we're leaving this 0.16 allowance for the finishing bit later, that 1/16 inch tapered ball nose. It's just saying that amount is more than 20% the diameter of that tool, and it's warning you against that, but I'm going to trust Ryan on this, and I'm going to run it anyway. So I'm going to click OK. All right, so now we'll just preview that one right quick. All right, so there we go, and it actually runs that one twice. Let me reset that and slow it down a little bit. It'll do it in 2 passes, 0.3 each time. All right, so now let's look at the stars. Go back to my 3D view. VCarve Toolpath, flat depth of 0.15. I'm using Ryan's Cutting It Close 30-degree V-bit, the 1/4 inch version. I'll go ahead and show you my feeds and speeds that I'm using. And again, I think I sped mine up a little bit above what he has on there by default. You do you. So my pass depth is 0.25. The final pass step over is 5%. clearance pass, 15%, 18,000 RPM, 75-inch per minute feed rate, and 40-inch plunge rate. So that's how I have mine set, and that's how I'll be running it in today's video. Let's see. And down here, you do need to use vector start points checked, which it will already be, and project toolpath onto 3D model. That'll already be checked for you, but just make sure. Calculate that. All right, now we will preview that toolpath. And there they are, and they look kind of funky there, but that's because they're cutting different depths. And once we come back with that finishing pass, you'll see here in just a second that all of those stars will start to look uniform then. So if you carve your stars and you see that, don't panic. That's just the way it is. All right, so let's look at the finishing pass. I am using the Cutting It Close 16th inch radius ball nose. I'll show you my settings right quick. And I sped this one up to 180 inches per minute, 20,000 RPM, 10% step over, 20% clearance pass, 180 feed rate, 90 plunge. And in full disclosure, I have already run my flags at the time of recording this segment, and I could have run that faster than 180 because later on when I cut the large flag, I run it at 250. And then I was wishing I'd run it at 300. So, but there again, you do you based on your machine, your tools, and you know your setup better than anybody else. So use your own judgment on that. And, like Ryan, I would always recommend, err on the side of caution. I'll just say that. So that's all of that. We'll go down here. We're doing machining the model boundary. Earlier, when we did this union over here, we did the selected vectors, but now we're just doing the model boundary. We're running it in a raster, no boundary offset, no angle. Calculate. This one takes a little bit to calculate because that's a big toolpath. In fact, when I sent mine over to the Masso for the large flag, it was taking so long, I just used the thumb drive to save it on the thumb drive and then took the thumb drive over to the Masso. This is a big file. So let me reset this, uncheck that. So we'll just do them one at a time here. There's our first one, that roughing toolpath for the union. Then we're gonna cut stars. And then the finishing pass. And I'll speed that up. And we'll look at my projected times here in VCarve in just a second. All right, so there you go. And you'll notice that it shows some material left over around the edge. That wasn't my experience, and that's not what Ryan had in his video either. But ignore that. That's just normal. Your flag is going to carve just fine. And we do need to also look at the job setup over here. I forgot to do that. This is very important, something you need to know, and that may explain why we have this excess showing around the edges here in the preview. All right, we're running, the job size is 24 inches wide. Well, the actual flag is 22.5 inches wide. The job site height here is 13 inches, and the height of the flag is actually 12 inches. Thickness 1.25, and that is accurate. And he did that so that you would, when you're running that finishing pass, it'll actually start down here in this corner, about right there. It's going to start off of the flag, and it'll make half a dozen or so passes back and forth before it actually starts touching the wood. And he did that on purpose because that's just the way you need to do something like this. I'm no 3D expert. He is. So let's just trust him on that. And it turned out perfect for me. But that's the reason that the actual job size is larger than the actual flag. I hope I said that right. And he's using a center origin. I generally use front left origin for my signs and such, but in this case, he was adamant about it. And then once I got in here and looked at this file, I could see why. And the reason that it has to be a center origin is because you do have these overcuts. You're going to have these overcuts around the flag. And if you tried to do this with a front left or a back right, those overcuts are not going to work right. So definitely use a center origin. Click OK. Okay, now let's look at the projected times. And this is what's confusing to me. All right. It's showing here 4 hours and 42 minutes. Well, for me, I think it ended up being 2.5 hours or something like that. So I'm not sure, this projected toolpath summary, machining times, it's not an exact science and Vectric. I don't know why they can't make this more accurate based on your feeds and speeds that you put in to the program here. But you know, very seldom is it ever right on the dot. And in this case, it's way off. And then when I run that large flag, it was showing like 6 hours, and it really did it in like 3.5. So who knows? All right, so I'm gonna close it out. Save these, send them over to your Masso, and let's get over there to the machine and start making some man glitter. All right, this is a quick look at the 3 bits we'll be using for the flags. We'll start out with this Golden Boy, which is an upcut rougher. Then we'll use the 30-degree V bit for the stars. And then for the waves, we'll be using this 16th inch tapered ball nose. All 3 from Cutting It Close. If you're interested in getting some of these bits or any of his other bits, and he has a lot of them, link will be in the first pinned comment below and in the description, and in that QR code right there at the top right. Boop, boop. The XYZ is set. I've already got the files sent over here, and I've got the first one loaded up. Got to go to F2, go to work origins, what I always do, but I'm already there. So rewind, cycle start, and hold your breath.
Oh, would you look at this?
Well, that certainly wasn't how I had this thing planned. Not sure if I'll be able to recover from that or not, but we are going to proceed on. But what I did, I have put clamps on it now, so I moved my flag over to the right, added this row of bench dogs, and I've got 3 clamps. So I could put one more down here, but I think I should be okay, hopefully. So now I'm going to redo my XYZ. Gonna carve it again, and I'm kind of concerned that it started this far out of the walnut here, but I knew it was going to come outside of it a little bit. But anyway, that may be part of, well, I guess it is. It's going to be part of the rest of this. So hopefully that's a real deep dish right there. So, all right, XYZ is reset. F2, go to work origin, rewind, cycle start, and hold my breath again for real. You know, it's easy to forget just how much up pull those upcut bits actually have. And I think the rougher bits like the one I'm using here are even worse than just your standard upcut bits. Those things have a tremendous amount of force pulling up. And, you know, we just need to keep that in mind so things like that that happen to me don't happen to you. Alrighty, got that toolpath finished. Let me load up the 30-degree V-bit. We're gonna cut those stars. So I come over here to the Masso. I am going to go to my MDI. I've already got T32 M6 in there. That's going to be that 30-degree V-bit. Click run, It's going to come up here for me to load that tool. So let me do that right quick. All right. Now I just hit cycle start and it'll go over there and measure it. Now, rewind, cycle start. You just have to trust the process sometimes. That sure looks weird, but I know it's right. Hey, don't forget to click that thumbs up down there. And if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're down there. I think you'll learn a lot from my channel, and you just might have fun while you're learning. How can you lose? All right, there's our 50 stars. Y'all, I went through all this trouble cleaning up those stars unnecessarily. Ryan clearly said in his video to run your stars twice, run that toolpath twice. I forgot about that. And it cost me some time. So when you make your flag, don't do like I'm doing here. Just go ahead and run that toolpath a second time and you'll be just fine. All right, so I've got it cleaned up best I can. It looks pretty good, but look here. There's my oops that happened within 2 seconds of starting the project, and it's way deeper than this wave is, so I'll have to fill that, and I don't think that'll be a problem. All right, I've got the big flag on there, got it clamped down, got my block screwed down on top and on the side, and then of course my bench dogs take care of the left and the bottom. So all I gotta do is go to work origin, and I'm not going to film this entire thing, or I may just film it in super high speed, because there's no need in me, redoing everything on this one that I did on the first one. But let's just see how it goes. Rewind, cycle start. Well, that's a better start than the last one. Even a caveman can learn after one mistake. I'm living proof. Fixing to start carving the stars. Okay, I'm about ready to start pouring epoxy. Got everything laid out here on my table saw. Got my plastic down below it. And I've got my tape dams that Ryan recommended in his video. I'll have a link to that in the first pinned comment and in the description. Got my stars all cleaned out. And if you're wondering what this tape is right here, well, that's where I made the little boo-boo and dug way down deep in there. Well, what I did, I filled that with this wood filler, natural color wood filler. And I just put tape over it because I don't want the epoxy to get on top of it. So once I get the epoxy poured in there, I'm going to peel this top part back here so it can get air in there, and the filler can be drying tonight while the epoxy is drying. So I'm ready. So let me get this camera set up and we'll get to pouring. All right, I'm ready to mix up my epoxy. I've already got my hardener poured in there, 4 ounces. And I'm going to put 4 ounces of the epoxy in there. They sent me 8 ounces total of epoxy because I have 2 flags. So this is supposed to be enough to do both flags. Let me get stirring, see what time it is. All right. And like Ryan said, don't whip it. Just, you don't try not to get it, air in there as best as you can. Some air is inevitable. It's going to happen, but okay, I've been stirring for about 5 minutes. I think that should be enough. Color looks pretty good. I don't have a ton of bubbles in there, so I think I did all right in that regard. So, fixing to pour these babies in there. Right there. I'll start with the big flag. I'll give you a close-up look. All right. See y'all in the morning. And to prove that a caveman can learn from his mistake after one time, I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back of this flag, since how now we truly cannot put clamps on top of it because we'll be surfacing the entire area. So I'm just going to use some double-sided tape on the back. And by the way, this is X-Fasten. I'll have a link to it in the description. It's in our Amazon store. Okay. Get it on here. Right there. All right, finally ready to make some man glitter. Got my flag taped down, double-sided tape. I have added another MDF blocker here, so I have real solid support from all 4 sides. The blockers are on bottom, top, and that side. And then I've got my bench dogs over here holding me. I removed these bench dogs because the bit was going to hit them because it's going up down through here, and I did a little trial run a while ago and actually hit this bench dog, so that wasn't cool. So I just took those out, put this blocker here, and we're going to be ready to go. And but let me bring you into the Masso. I'm going to show you a little special setting that I'm doing as I get started here, just as a safety measure. So let's go look at this. All right, I'm ready to go. XYZ has been checked and double checked and triple checked. You can see my blockers around there. What I'm going to do though, since I'm going to run this thing at 180 inches per minute, and when I did that test run a while ago, 180 inches a minute just looks really fast, and it's cutting really deep. You know, it's going like 0.64 deep. So in order to, just in the name of safety, I'm going to do the override here, and I have got it set to 50%. So at the beginning of this carve, I'm only going to be running at 90 inches per minute, and I'm real confident in that. And as the carve progresses, I'll gradually tap that on up to, and maybe get up to full speed, but I'm not going to force the issue. I'm just going to listen to it and see how the bit's sounding whenever it's running. So with that, we're ready. I'm going to hit rewind, cycle start. And since I have that override down to 50%, everything moves slower. We'll get you down here and I'll show you what I'm talking about on how deep this thing is cutting. Look at that. And I double checked that. Oh wow, I thought I was gonna hit that MDF, but I'm glad I didn't, because I don't want to breathe that dust. But I used my little woodpecker panini square a while ago to see just how deep that thing was going down, and it was truly 0.64, or you know, thereabouts below the surface here. So I'm going to film these first few passes in real time, and then I'll switch over and do the rest of it in time lapse. We might start touching wood on this pass. I'm not sure. Probably not. Well, one thing about it, the spindle's getting a chance to warm up. The flow indicator up there is just a spinning, so everything's good. At this point, I was wishing I was running 280 inches per minute instead of 180. But I went ahead and just let it run out the way it was. But I'm fixing to speed this video up so we can get through this part. All right, we have been running for just over an hour. Got an hour and 18 minutes left. I'm 43% through. Looking great. That finish is just so smooth. You'd think it had already been sanded, but that is one good bit from cutting it close. So it is finished. I'm going to sand off this right here. I've got some 80 grit that I'm going to use just to take that epoxy off of there. Then of course I'll hit it with some much finer grits after that. But for now, I'm just going to get that off of there, see what we look like. Okay, it just didn't cut deep enough right there. I don't know why. Let me show you what I'm looking at. You see right there, those are not quite right. So I'm going to have to do some more sanding on that. And I'm not sure what went wrong there. But these over here look fine. So let me do a little bit more sanding. All right, that did it. Didn't take just a couple more minutes and it was good to go. All right, get it off of there and we'll get that big flag loaded up and carry on. All right, got my big flag up here. Got double-sided tape on the back. It is ready to go. I got my blockers all the way around. Got bench dogs on that side. And since I'm running this toolpath at 250 inches per minute, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the small flag, and I'm just going to work my way up on the speed using the speed override. Rewind, cycle start. That's 250 inches a minute. Our carve time is got 4 hours and 38 minutes left. Been carving for almost 5 minutes. All right, let's set this thing up for some time lapse. Well, there we have it. Carve is finished. Still gonna have to do some sanding, get rid of that epoxy, and I'm going to have to sand some walnut down here, but no biggie. I'll get her done in the morning. It is after 9 o'clock Sunday night, and I've been out here since 8 o'clock this morning, so it's been a day. I'll see y'all in the morning. All right, it's time to finish this thing. Ryan used this Howard feed and wax, which is what I'm going to use. So it's just a wood polish and conditioner with beeswax and orange oil. So it ought to smell good. So let's just put some on there. And I think he just spread it around. And the instructions say put it on, spread it around, and let it soak for 30 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes. And then come back, wipe off that excess, and see if you need to do another coat. Ooh, it does smell good. It smells like orange. Duh. Damn, now I'm craving orange sherbet. And it does help if y'all do this left-handed. Yeah, at least it works for me. All right, man. I think I got a pretty good coat everywhere. Gonna let it set for a while. Come back and wipe it off, see what we got. I'll be right back. All right, I got sidetracked and left this stuff on here about an hour. I was busy editing this video, but it soaked up a lot of it, and man, that color looks fantastic. Check this out, fellas. Ain't that nice? I think I'm probably gonna wait till tomorrow, maybe in the morning, and then I'll put a second coat on there. And in the meantime, though, I'm gonna go ahead and put the first coat on the big flag, but I'm not gonna video that. There's no need in that, but I will show you the finished product of both of them. See you in a little bit. All right, I am putting my logo on the back of this big flag using my new Genmitsu Kintix. I did a video on this. Actually, it was my last video, so there will be a link to that video in the description below. But if you're interested in checking out this laser, check out that QR code up there, and you can learn more about it or place your order or whatever you want to do. But the beauty of this is you can carve something of any size, like this big old flag. You know, if you're set up at a craft show or something, and you want to put personalization on back of a cutting board or whatever, or on front of the cutting board, you can do it with this laser right here. And it's small, lightweight, very portable. And this is a perfect use case for this laser because this flag no way would fit in my other laser. So this is perfect. Y'all check it out. It really is a nice little machine. It's only 10 watt. That's the only complaint I have about it. I wish it could be 20 watt, but and you can tell I'm running this twice. The first time I run it, when I can run it one time on cedar or something, and it's perfect after the first try. But with this maple, it tends to carve kind of light. So I'm just going over it and darkening it up. So, but y'all check it out. Hey, y'all check this out. I just now found out that this laser is on sale today as of June 18th, 2026, over $100 off. You'll notice it's a hybrid galvo laser. And what that means is there's a galvo mirror in there that takes care of the cuts in the Y direction. And then it has a standard linear rail that moves on the X axis. So it's a very neat machine. Y'all check this out. You just use my QR code there on the screen, and I think you'll really enjoy this laser. Oh, and also check out the slate that I did. I made several slate coasters with this laser. Look how nice that turned out. I'm real happy with those. And here they are, kids. They turned out fantastic. Even though I screwed up on the little one, I was able to hide that. You can't even hardly notice it. So if I don't tell anybody, they'll never even know it was a problem. But I highly recommend these kits here. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have tried to do two at one time. But, you know, I did it, and I lived through it, and I'm glad I did it. But I'm telling you, these kits are so set up so well. I mean, you're set up to succeed from the beginning. Give it a try. I promise you, you will be so glad that you did. Well, that's it for this one. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I always reply to those. And to my members, thank y'all so much for sticking with me. I appreciate you more than you could ever know. Now y'all go make some man glitter, and I'll see you next time.